Good afternoon and welcome to The Voice Radio News of the Day. Coming your way pretty shortly. Stay tuned and do not flip the dial. Good afternoon and welcome to The Voice News on the Day. These are the news headlines. 7 civilians killed in Afghanistan, Helmand province. Labour call for West Coast Mainline franchise review. Essex Police called off Lion Surge. Killer Breivil linked with far right. Hill Carnival 2012, man critical after stabbing. Togo women call for strike against President Gnassingbe. Now let's take the main news at Voice Radio News on the Day. The body of 2 women and 15 men were found by the roadside of Main Road in Musa Kala district. They were either beheaded or had their throat cut. Some showed sign of breathing or had gunshot wound. Meanwhile, 10 Afghan army soldiers were killed in a Taliban attack in same province. In eastern Afghanistan, 2 U.S. soldiers were shot dead by an Afghan National Army. The bodies of the 17 civilians were discovered on Monday morning. Local officials said the men had gathered to listen to music and watch the women dance when they were attacked. The Taliban disapprove of men and women mixing socially. Quoting someone as saying, "I can confirm that this is the work of the Taliban." The Helmand province governor spokesman Dawood Ahmadi told AFPR news agency. He added that the men and women were partying with music in an area under control of Taliban. The BBC's Quentin Somerville in the capital Kabul says some reports suggest that 17 were killed because they were local government workers. The 10 Afghan army soldiers were killed in a massive attack by the Taliban on their checkpoint in southern Helmand on Monday morning. As many as 20 insurgents were involved in the assault, 11 of whom were killed. 4 soldiers were wounded and 6 others were also missing following an attack in Wazir district, a senior police official told AFP. The 2 U.S. soldiers with a NATO-led force in Afghanistan were killed in Laghman province by an Afghan army soldier, who was subsequently killed by NATO troops. Such incidents, termed green on blue attacks in reference to the respective color of the soldiers' uniform, have killed a total of 42 foreign troops this year. The Taliban claim responsibility for many of the attacks, but NATO says other issues, including cultural differences and personal animosities, are behind many incidents. Currently, approximately 130 soldiers, blue NATO troops are fighting insurgency in Afghanistan alongside 350,000 green Afghans. NATO forces are due to withdraw combat troops in Afghanistan by the end of 2014, with only training troops remaining. Labour call for West Coast Mainline franchise reviewed. Labour is urging ministers to delay signing a new West Coast Mainline contract until Parliament returns. The party says MPs must have the chance to consider the decision to take the franchise from Virgin Trains and give it to First Group for the next 13 years. First Group says it will bring in key improvement for passengers, but critics fear it will not be able to afford the 3.5 billion it is paying for the franchise. The Department for Transport said it had no reason to delay the signing. That is due to happen as early as Wednesday, with a calling off period due to end the midnight on Tuesday. But Virgin Sir Richard Branson has offered to run the service for free while a review is carried out. The Department for Transport spokesman said, "We note the offer that one of the bidders appeared to have made via the press. However, the winning bidder was decided by a fair and established process, and no reason has been advanced to convince Department for Transport not to sign the agreement." The Aberdeen-based First Group already operate a number of rail routes, including Great Western and ScotRail. The company, under the name First West Coast Limited, will take over the franchise from 9th December and is due to operate the service until 2026. The West Coast Mainline route services 31 million passengers traveling between London, the West Midlands, the North West, North Wales, and the Central Belt of Scotland. Virgin has run the franchise since 1997, during which time passenger numbers have doubled. First Group has promised to introduce better Wi-Fi and food for more frequent train and more seat, and to cut standard fare by 15%. The firm said it would introduce 11 new 125 km/h 6-car electric train on the Birmingham to Glasgow route and provide more direct service between destinations. Essex Police call off lion search. Police in Essex investigating report of a lion being spotted in a field have called off the search. The animal was seen near Earl Hall Drive in St. Osyth, near Clerton-on-Sea, by holidaymaker Bob Martin at about 7 p.m. on Sunday. Mr. Martin said he and his wife Denise saw a large cat and a lion was the first thing that came to mind. Police officers decided to call off the search on Monday after no trace of a big cat was found. The police spokesman said, "We believe what was seen on Sunday evening was either a large domestic cat or a wild cat." Extensive searches have been carried out. Areas examined and witness spokesman to yet nothing has been found to suggest that a lion was in the area. A Norwegian judge have jailed the mass killer Breivik after declaring him sane, yet his extreme ideology and shocking violence continue to raise questions. His murder of 77 unsuspecting people on 22nd of July last year saw the worst outrage for Norway since World War II. It was also the worst far-right attack in Europe since Italy Bologna railway station bombing of 1980, which killed 85 and wounded hundreds. Breivik's calculated act of political violence took months, even years of intricate planning. After bombing the Oslo government street, he went on to shooting spree at a Labour Party youth camp on Oteya Island. It was the deadliest mass shooting by a gunman in peacetime. In a country as famously tolerant, integrated and wealthy as Norway, what could have motivated such mass murder? His method was that of a lone wolf, right-wing terrorist, but he also saw himself as part of an international crusade, a Nordic warrior who could inspire others. First doubled leaderless resistance by a radical right ideologue in 1982, the lone wolf tactic remained a signature of far-right violence for 3 decades, one whereby the terrorist cycle of preparation and execution is undertaken single-handedly. Since Breivik killing spree, lone wolf attack by 8 right-wing extremists have continued, from a targeted killing of Senegalese traders by a Causa-found activist in Florence last December to the hate rock shooting rampage at the Sikh temple earlier this month by the neo-Nazi singer Wade Michael Page. The last week in Czech Republic, police arrested a 29-year-old man stockpiling explosives and weapons, claiming to be directly inspired by Breivik. Lone wolf terrorism represents a tiny, if less detectable faction of terrorist attack. It remains difficult to accomplish. What is why Breivik manifesto, comprising 1.75 million words, is so dangerous. Notting Hill Carnival 2012, man critical after stabbing. A 35-year-old man is in a critical condition after he was stabbed near Notting Hill Carnival. Police said 2 men in their early 20s have been arrested and are in custody at West London Police Station. The incidents happened in the early hours of Northpool Road in North Kensington. Nearly 100 people were arrested on Sunday on the first day of the carnival. 500,000 people are expected to see the carnival on Monday. Scotland Yard said it would maintain a strong presence with 7,000 officers on patrol. The carnival, known as Europe's biggest street carnival, is now in its 48th year. On Sunday, lines of traditional flute and bright costume dancers paraded along the 3.5-mile route as part of Children's Day. Organizer Vincent John from the Notting Hill Carnival Trust said the day had been fantastic, with lots of people enjoying themselves. Hopefully, the true spirit of the carnival will be developed and enjoyed by everyone today, as he added. Now in Africa. In Togo, women call sex strike against President Gnassingbe. Women in Togo have been urged to abstain from sex for a week from Monday to push their demand for reform. The ban has been called by opposition coalition led Let's Save Togo, made up of 9 civil society groups and 7 opposition parties and movement. Opposition leader Isabella Amegavi said that sex could be a weapon of the battle to achieve political change. The coalition wants President Gnassingbe, whose family has held power for decades, to stand down. Quoting them as saying, "We have many means to oblige men to understand what women want in Togo," Ms. Amegavi, leader of the women wing of the coalition, told the BBC. She said she had been inspired by a similar strike by Liberian women in 2003 who used sex strike to campaign for peace. "If men refuse to hear our cries, we would hold another demonstration that will be more powerful than a sex strike," she said. Togo has been run by the same family for more than 4 decades. President Gnassingbe took power in 2005 following the death of his father, Gnassingbe Nyadema, who ruled Togo for 38 years. The president was re-elected in 2010. The strike was announced at a rally on Saturday in Lomé, attended by thousands of people. The rally was held to protest against recent electoral reforms, which demonstrates say it will make easier for Gnassingbe party to win re-election in the parliamentary pool set for October. Activists say that the strike will motivate men who are not involved in the political movement to pursue its goals, which include an end to a system allowing unlimited presidential terms. Earlier this month, 2 anti-Gnassingbe protests were dispersed by police using tear gas, and more than 100 people were arrested. The sex strike was welcomed as a political tool by some women in Lome. It's a good thing for us women to observe this sex strike as long as our children are in jail now. I believe that by observing this, we would get them released. Abla Tamaklo told the Associated Press. For me, it is like fasting, and unless you fast, you will not get what you want from God. Now, folks, these are the news headlines on the day at Voice Radio. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with a news analysis. Now, in Afghanistan, 17 civilians were killed in Helmand province. Day in, day out, places like Afghanistan, Iraq, and some other places are experiencing or seeing mass killing. Some form of mass killing or terrorism going on over there. We look at it from this way. A sovereign country being undertaken, or a sovereign country under the leadership of another sovereign country, a sovereign country under occupation, and people wanting to liberate themselves out of the occupants. I think this is a very critical situation here. But we look at Taliban. Taliban in Afghanistan, in one way or the other, is a demonic organization. But Taliban in Libya, Taliban in Egypt, Taliban in Syria is being praised and hailed by the international community to overthrow those whom they perceived are against the will of the international community. It was made clear to the international community that the Taliban forces in Iraq are now migrating to Syria to help the Syrian rebels to overthrow Assad's government, and it was hailed by them. This is a double standard by the international community. If we, as a civilized nation, empower these terrorists with weapons and finances to overthrow a government or to fight a government in a sovereign country, what do we think we are doing? Are we not the same people empowering the evil in Afghanistan, killing our brothers and sisters in the army? Are we not the same people empowering them financially to mastermind their evil deeds in Afghanistan, killing civilians, women and children, and our brothers and sisters in the army, and destroying the beliefs and principles, the fundamental beliefs and principles of the international world? We do so believe in democracy. And for that matter, if the Taliban is not allowing democracy to prevail in Afghanistan, so they would do in Syria after Assad's government has fallen. Don't we think so? What is happening in Libya? Libya, even though went through election and the transition as perceived went on smooth, do we think that Libya is in safe hands? The Taliban and the so-called Libyan Transition Council, with their supporters, the allies who fought Muammar Gaddafi, are still operating in Libya. What are we doing to end all these wars around the world under the banner of democratizing this government or these countries? It's up to us to fight them, and it's up to us to make peace prevail. We are for peace. We are for peace to prevail for the future generation. Policies and programs should be done irrespective of where we come from, irrespective of our ideological stance. I don't think and believe that the culture clash should be allowed or should dictate the policies of the international community towards the so-called the third world or the East world. I don't think that is making peace. That is exacerbating the situation for now. My brothers and sisters, we have to come together, call it off, and make sure that the ethnocentricity of our culture defines the way people are governed in any country. Now let's go to Norway. The mass murderer Breivik has been given how many years in prison? He was given 21 years in prison for killing 77 innocent people, for calling his action a very brave one and a liberated action. A mass murderer, a terrorist, through the due process has been sentenced to 21 years imprisonment. What a shame to the international world. If this is what we call the right, human right, then what about those people who were killed by this lunatic far-right activist that he wants to peg Norway of Islamist? If an individual can kill 77 people and have 21 years imprisonment, don't we think this is motivating a lot of people to also carry this heinous attack on innocent life? Do we think that this is a right thing to be done? What came out of the family of the bereaved? And why should we allow this lunatic to even apologize to his comrade that he is apologizing for not killing enough? He is apologizing for not killing too many people as a result of his lunatic ideas of pegging his country, a nationalistic, lunatic idea of pegging his country. This is also another topic to be talked about. If he can do all these things and have just 21 years imprisonment, then I think people will also follow him. But for the sake of peace, for the sake of fighting terrorism, this man should by all means be extradited to America, so that the rules and regulations of the United States of America, if possible, could have handled this man. Just like the way we are fishing for Julian Assange, the whistleblower. We should also fish for this man. We should also call for extradition. We should extradite this man to the United States of America to go and face the full rigors of the law over there. We should also, even if at all, we should send him to Guantanamo Bay because he's a terrorist. Inasmuch as a court of competent jurisdictions have proven that this man went beyond reasonable doubt, was the perpetrator of that heinous crime, he needs to go to Guantanamo Bay, even though those who are in Guantanamo Bay are not, and they've not been found guilty of any crime. They are yet to be found. Yes, still on democracy. We move on to West African country, a tiny country in West Africa called Togo, which shares border with Ghana. Aflao and Aflao is the border, and they share another border with Benin, and the rest is the sea, and the northern side goes to Karachi in Ghana. What are they saying? They are saying that a coalition of 7 movements and opposition parties have come together to call for the step down of the President Gnassingbe, the son of the former president of the Republic of Togo, Gnassingbe Iyadema, because the family has ruled for 4 decades and they don't want Gnassingbe to have another term in office. The leader of the women group have called for women in Togo to embark upon sex strike. That means to deny their lovers, their husband, sex. And they think that by so doing, the men would think and come out with plan B or plan A to make sure that Gnassingbe wouldn't have the next term in office. It was led by Isabella Amagavi, who made this statement and said she took a cue or inspiration from what happened in Liberia. The women embarked upon strike to campaign for peace in Liberia. But do you think that you denying somebody of sex, or you asking a woman to deny her husband of her sex, will be able to do this? I doubt it. Anyway, but the right thing I think should have been done was all the civil society organizations in the country, including the opposition parties, should educate the citizen of the country, to educate the people of Togo, to make sure, to ensure that during elections, majority of them should not vote for the party of the president. They should be vigilant. They should be careful with the electoral process. During the voting day, they should be vigilant of the situation. They should take critical look at the ballot boxes. Counting should be done at the full glare eyes of the people. There should not be provocation whereby somebody will dwell on that as an opportunity to overturn electoral results in the country. Again, they should call on their brothers and sisters in political administration, in government, in organization and institution in the country that this is a country that belongs to all of us. The good of the country is better for all of us, and the worst becomes a curse on all of us. And for that matter, if electoral commissioner is working, the commission is working, they should be seen as being fair to all political parties, but not the party in administration or not the party in government. When the police is to guard electoral area, they should be seen as citizens, but not the police of the party in power. When the military is asked to go and give hand to the police in guarding electoral areas, they should be seen as brothers and sisters of Togo, but not brothers and sisters of the government in power. If these things are done, they would be able to overturn the electoral fortunes of the president, so that the credible opposition party or the coalition will win power and ouster away peacefully the president out of the presidential palace or out of government. That would transform the political fortunes of Togo. But if they then threatens again, as they've threatened again, that if this do not work, they will come out with another powerful plan, I think that is also a recipe for disaster in Togo, because we know what Gnassingbe Yadema did, even to extent of gassing his own people by the support of the French. We don't want to see that again. Africa is now growing, a new dawn for Africa. Our destinies should be left in our hands. We should be able to manage our own affairs, just like what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said, that the black man is capable of managing his own affair. My brothers and sisters in Togo, we want to see our frontier. We want to see the frontiers of Togo. We want to see our neighbors happy. We want to see you happier. We don't want to have a situation that the refugees, the citizens of Togo, will flow, the influx of the citizens of Togo in Ghana. We don't want to see a situation whereby we will be housing, Ghana will be housing a lot of refugees, which of course are is the right of you to seek refuge in Ghana, but we don't want to see that. If Togo is at peace and growing, Ghana will definitely enjoy the benefit of the peaceful atmosphere in Togo. Well, folks, this ends a news analysis on your voice, the Voice Radio. Stay tuned to the Voice. We'll be having